This video isn't going to be an in-depth, step-by-step guide to what to do to approach somebody, right? Like, I'm not going to tell you, oh, walk up to somebody from the side or walk up to somebody directly in front of them and with a smile and shake their hand and then talk about their name, try to ask for their name, ask for all these things. That's not what this video is going to be about. It does have to do with approaching new people or even people that you know, or just like starting random conversation in general, right? So I want to talk about this saying that I heard somewhere where it's like, the world is essentially a mirror, and it's like a mirror of your energy, right? And let's think about this. I've had some thought going on about this in my own mind and like my own life and how I approach people and talk to people. So especially with the target practice challenge for this month being to have conversation with a new person every day, or even say hello to somebody every day. So it's interesting because they talked about the concept of awkwardness, and awkwardness is created, right? So let me give you an example, not about awkwardness, but about hostility, right? If you're out in public and then you approach somebody, you walk up to some random person with a knife and you're like running up to them and being like super aggressive, shouting and stuff, how do you think they're going to respond? They could probably respond in two different ways. They could respond, one, hostilely back towards you. Maybe they'll probably choose to run actually if you have a knife. But if you're just trying to like start a fight and you're all aggressive and stuff in public, how do you think people are going to respond to you, right? People are going to respond to you with that same energy. Like if somebody comes up to you and they're all in your face and they're shouting at you, trying to pick a fight, you're either going to start trying to pick a fight back with them, or you're going to just like kind of like shell up and crawl into a corner and or disengage from the situation in general, right? And I literally saw an example of this last night because I was coming home from the football game and it was Pitt versus West Virginia, and West Virginia is a big rival of ours. So in the streets of like around my apartment, there were West Virginia fans and there were Pitt fans. It was after the game, and the West Virginia fans were like yelling at the Pitt guys because, we won gladly, but after the game they were yelling back and forth, literally just in the street. They were just yelling at each other. So that's really an example of people mirroring your energy, right? Obviously, it's a kind of a specific situation because football game, one side versus the other, so that maybe inherently makes it more of intense argument kind of energy. But I think it still resonates with the idea because, these people, so here's the scenario. West Virginia fans were here on this side of the street. There's a street here, yelling at Pitt fans that were over here on this side of the street. And then I was walking home and I was coming down here. I'm wearing a Pitt shirt. So I'm just walking past the West Virginia fans. I don't say anything to them because, I'm not really trying to pick a fight. I'm just trying to go home and sleep after the game. But, West Virginia fans shouting out the Pitt fans. I'm a Pitt fan walking this way right past them. I don't really say anything, and they don't really have anything to say to me. They're more focused on going back and forth and yelling at the people that are yelling at them. So all of that was basically just to say that people will mirror your energy. And if we take that same example of, I guess, aggressiveness and hostility, and we apply it to something like awkwardness, if you approach somebody and you're awkward and you're like, hey, what's your name? People are going to also respond in that way where they're like, whoa, this is kind of weird. I guess I'm going to mirror that same energy, and that's kind of weird, right? I'm not going to respond to them like, oh, hi, how are you doing? What's your name? And you're not going to be like super friendly with a person that's making it awkward, right? Just because it just doesn't match the same energy and the same, if you want to call like the same like vibrational frequencies or whatever. I'm not going to get too deep into that, but that's basically the idea of the world is essentially a mirror that will match your energy. So if you're approaching people with good intentions and good faith, for the most part, if people are also in that same kind of mindset or they're willing and accepting to that, like maybe they had a shitty day, but you come in with all this energy trying to be a good person and being warming to them, it's not necessarily your fault if they just had a piss poor day and all they can't wait to just get home and they don't want to talk to anybody, right? But if there's somebody who they're just having a regular old day, and I also have another example from the football game as well, from when we were all sitting in the seats at the game, right? Whole rows full of bleachers, right? And we were all sitting in the stands, and people were walking up the aisle. We were sitting right near the aisle, and people would just be walking up because it was a high intensity, high energy kind of atmosphere. People were just walking up the stairs, and this is something also to note. People were walking up the stairs as usual, but then I saw this one guy who was walking up the stairs, and each time he passed a new row, right? Because when you're sitting in the stands, there's like rows of seats, and if you're walking up the stairs, you basically see the people. He was walking up every single step he took up higher and higher. He would reach his hands out for a high five to the people who were sitting on the aisle, and like nine times out of 10, or like every single time I saw him reach his hands up for a high five for other people, random people that he was just walking up the bleachers, they would respond with a high five back, right? Because I guess it's kind of weird if you don't respond with a high five when somebody's trying to bring that kind of energy, right? So even if you're not feeling like giving this guy a high five, because this guy's offering up a nice high five to you, people felt inclined to do so and respond that way. Again, maybe this was situational because it was like at a football game, but I think it still has that same undertone of what I'm talking about, of the world is like a reflection and a mirror of your energy. So if you put out these kinds of energies and you're putting out awkwardness into the conversation, that's kind of how people are going to respond, and then both people will see it as awkward, not just yourself. So the way to combat this, I guess, is try to be mindful of what kind of energy and what kind of message you're putting out there. Obviously, I'm not just saying, oh, if you're awkward, just go out and have all the confidence in the world and talk to people, because that's not how that works. You obviously have to develop and hone that skill of being able to talk to people to gain the confidence. But in practicing, I don't really like suggesting like the fake it till you make it kind of thing, but you just have to come in with a sense of confidence and a sense of assertiveness that you're there for a purpose, right? If you're going up to talk to somebody just to talk to them, and you have no real reason to talk to them other than just because they're there, right? That's not a good enough reason to really have people engage in conversation. Now, if you see an interesting person, like somebody, I don't know, somebody skateboarding on the street, and then you go up to them and you're like, oh, you actually have a purpose of wanting to talk to them, of like, oh, I want to learn more about, I want to see if he can do a trick, or maybe I'm also into skateboarding too, so I want to go talk to him about specifically skateboarding, or or even if like there's no real intention, but your intention is to get to know somebody better that you just see randomly walking in the park, that is an intention. So you have to keep that intention in mind, and you go into the conversation with like, okay, I want to talk to this person to try to get to know more about them, because then if you just go in with no clear aim of like, oh, I don't even know why I'm going up to this person. Nathan just said, go up and approach somebody every single day, try to talk to them. Then you're obviously going to be awkward because you don't have anything that you want to get out of the conversation. You just walk up and say hi, and then you don't know where to go from there. But if you say, I want to go into this conversation with the intent of getting to know somebody, and then even backed more deeper behind that reasoning of wanting to get to know them, I want to get to know this person in order to develop my own social skills. Because if you just go into a conversation saying, I want to just develop my social skills, that's that's the only reason why I want to talk to this person, you're not really going to have anything to talk about. You're not going to have any substance there. So you go into the interaction, most generally, if you're cold approaching people just randomly off the street, your purpose is that just to get to know them better and to know more about this person you found maybe interesting, or I don't know, for whatever reason you want, because they're attractive, whatever. So always have intention for speaking with people. That will not necessarily cure your awkwardness, but it will give you something to fall back on, because if things are getting awkward, then you're just like, okay, then why am I here in the first place? So you have to have that strong intention of why you're in that interaction, of being there and engaging in conversation with this person to begin with. So I think that's going to be the video for today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. And remember to stay on target.